it's kind of like a bucket list. So that I don't really love bucket lists because I had one once and I almost died and I thought that was dumb. I don't want to have a bucket list. so I have my own like version of it.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Campfire Capitalism. I'm your host, Desmond Dixon. And today, Heather's sick, right? She just came back from Puerto Rico and she's sick, so you just got me again. And we bring back Jeffery for another part 2 episode. It's going to be fire. I hope you like the last. If you haven't listened to part 1 yet, go back, listen to part 1. We talked a lot about inflation, how he went from a bankruptcy attorney to being essentially thinking he's on his deathbed to then building a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio while going through bankruptcy on the back of the 2008 recession. I mean, that episode was fire, so go check it out. And today we're going to talk a lot about how he's traveling the world right now, a little bit why I'm traveling the world right now, and we're going to talk a little bit about how not to have a bad day and just a lot of good days, right? Because we all want good days, shiny days here in entrepreneurship land, investor land. So today is going to be a good one. Jeffery, man, welcome back to the pod, man. Part 2. What's up, man?
Yeah, thanks. I'm super happy to be back. Last one went so fast, we didn't even get to my favorite topic, no bad days. So I'm excited to come back and talk about that. So it's been really cool. So thanks for having me back.
Heck yeah, man. Yo, let's just jump right in real quick. So first of all, where are you right now? Like, are you in Puerto Rico or?
Yeah, Puerto Rico right now. Yeah. So I rented a place year round here because during COVID travel was just really hard. So I was coming to Puerto Rico a lot, even though it was shut down and a little bit inconvenient to get in and out. I knew I could get in and out, and that mattered to me. I need to have a little ocean in my life every once in a while. I live in central Tennessee. No oceans there. So I wanted to go scuba diving one day and I went, where can I go? The only place was Puerto Rico. And then I went, man, I love Puerto Rico. Why don't I come here more? So I just kept coming back all last year. And then in November, I rented a place year round. And I'm probably going to buy a place. In fact, I just listed my house for sale in Tennessee. So maybe I'm going to end up living here because I don't have a house in Tennessee much longer. Because, the market, you list it and it sells the same day. But I got above ask offer within 4 hours of listing, and I listed pretty high. Hopefully this doesn't come out and then they hear it and go, "Oh man, we should back out of that deal." Yeah, I think we're good. I think it'll close before it comes out, so it'll be all right.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Yeah, go get that full-time Puerto Rico tax credit too while you're there, right?
The thing is, Puerto Rico has some huge advantages tax-wise, but I actually, because I'm a real estate guy, I don't pay tax. I have zero federal income tax. So far my plan is to avoid becoming Puerto Rican resident. Stay about half the year, a little bit more in the U.S. and then split my time. But maybe I'll hit some crypto riches and change my mind, right? It's all the crypto people coming here. I haven't had that happen to me yet, but I heard the market's way up today. I guess the Fed's hiking rates and crypto market's going crazy today. So who knows?
Yeah. Cold storage, man. Cold storage. Bring my USB drive to Puerto Rico. Just put all my money in my suitcase. It's great. Dude, this is sick. So bro, let's kind of jump in first on a philosophical level and really just get your understanding so that we can all be on the same playing field. What does no bad days mean to you specifically?
I talk about this all the time, right? So, and it means something a little bit different to everyone, but the basic concept is this. Somewhere in the world right now, someone's having the best day of their life. Somewhere else in the world, someone's having the worst day of their life. That's objectively true all the time, every day. So when you think about it from an objective perspective, the day itself is neither good nor bad. It's really just how you perceive it is how you receive it, right? So if it feels bad to you, it's bad. If it feels good to you, it's good. So the game is to trick yourself into having good days. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it really is. It's a little bit of mindset, it's a little bit of a mantra. It's a little bit of, just sort of reconditioning your brain to find the good stuff, because good and bad stuff happens to everyone every day. And the thing is, there's science behind this too. There's psychological science. There's this thing called the Bader-Meinhof effect, which is where your brain defaults to things that are familiar. So this is like when you get a new Honda Civic and all of a sudden everyone's got a Honda Civic, you just start seeing them everywhere. Or you're thinking about getting a Tesla and then everyone has a Tesla, that kind of stuff. That's Bader-Meinhof effect, your brain just defaulting to what's familiar. So there's a little bit of that going on. If you're used to being positive, you start seeing more positive things. If you see more positive things, you're more used to being positive, and it sort of reinforces itself over time. But there's also a guy, I forget the guy's name, I should probably remember it, but he wrote this book called Hardwiring Happiness. He's a PhD in neuroscience, and it actually retrains the neural pathways in your brains. The ones you use more become stronger and reinforced. The ones you use less become they atrophy actually, and they go away. So it becomes harder and harder to have a bad day the more good days in a row you have. So the goal is really just to get that started and like sort of just really, really, really be diligent in the beginning. Because once you get to a certain point, like I don't know what could happen to me to ruin my day. Like I literally don't know. I mean, I could, I guess like maybe if I became a paraplegic, my wife died and my dog started eating my face and I couldn't like stop it, that might be a bad day. I'm not sure, right? Like, I know that's a crazy thing, but like, the thing is like, there's just gonna be something good that happens to me every day. So like we talked on the last show about how I got leukemia and thought I was gonna die. People came into the hospital that day, and it had been like 13 years at that point since I had a bad day, and said to me, "Oh, I bet today's a bad day." Almost like they wanted to prove that. And I was kind of like, "No, man. Like today's a pretty good day." Most of the day, I didn't even know I had leukemia. I didn't find out till 10 at night. And then the next day, it was like I knew the whole day. It was a little bit trickier, but about halfway through the day, there was a shift change, and the nurse walks in and she looks at me and she goes, "Oh my God, Jeff, I'm so sorry to see you here." And I went, "Oh my God, Shelly, I'm so happy to be here," because she was like a babysitter of mine when I was a kid and I hadn't seen her in a couple decades. And I was just like overwhelmed with positivity about seeing her. And like, I know if I had been on like No Bad Days number 3, like that wouldn't have worked because like I wouldn't have been fully conditioned into it. But by then, my brain was it was like grasping for positivity and everything that was going on. And it made my day good. And like people say, well, that's kind of BS, right? Like on one hand, you've got leukemia and you're dying. On the other hand, you get to see a babysitter. Like which one outweighs the other? But the thing is, it doesn't matter which one outweighs the other. It matters how you perceive it. So at the time, it felt like a good day. And then when I like retrospectively look at that day, it honestly was probably the best day of my life, because that's the day that I decided to quit practicing law. That's the day that I set myself on a course to financial freedom, where I live this amazing, ridiculous, awesome life that I have now, where, I can go where I want, be where I want. I can rent a place in Puerto Rico just because I feel like being by the ocean. And if I don't want to work for the next 2 months, I don't work for the next 2 months. I went and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in 2020, right before the pandemic started. Planning on like literally going to Tanzania and trying to buy land to start a safari lodge just to watch like other people experience how awesome it is to go on a safari and see elephants and lions and stuff. And I could never do that kind of stuff. I could never live this kind of life if it wasn't for that day that other people would have said was a terrible, horrible day. But in retrospect, is really the best day of my life.
Man, that's like next level mindset stuff. I can
it's
relate
really a lot
that.
easier than you think. Though. It really is.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like what you focus on is what you attract, right? As well, right? So if you're always focused on, like you said, those things that bother you or what's wrong with the world, then you're just going to keep seeing evidence of what you think you see, because your confirmation bias is like feeding. It's like an alternator. It's like your energy is like an alternator. You're just feeding off of it. Man, that's sick. So like, would you like, this is a little contrarian take here. That's just for me on the outside looking in. Would you say like the whole like no bad days philosophy also helps you in getting into flow state or helping you make better decisions in your decision making, your mental modeling? Like, does that like really like feed into you just like being certain and making confident decisions and that are in alignment with your desired outcome?
Yeah. So it does, because so I believe in encapsulating this stuff, right? So and by that I mean, this is some of the concept I've only really been thinking about lately, but no bad days, like the hashtag no bad days, that's encapsulating the concept of all that stuff we just talked about and more stuff. I mean, I actually wrote a whole book about this that's coming out later in the year called No Bad Days, right? And so there's more to it than what we just covered there, obviously, but the whole encapsulation of it is really important. So like, because I have that hashtag in my mind, I know what that means. So I don't have to like think all this stuff that I just said. I only have to think no bad days. I never have bad days, whatever, right? Like I create that internal mantra or capsule that encapsulates the whole concept. So what that does though, is it clears your mind and allows you to think more critically, right? So when you start looking at like, what do you want to do? Like what kind of business decision do you want to make? All that kind of stuff, having that mental clarity really, really helps. And you can encapsulate other things too. So like I have another hashtag, I like to hashtaggify my own thinking, if that makes any sense, right? Called Last Life Ever. And it's about living the best version of your life. It's just like recognizing that this is it. Like however we live now, it's like YOLO, but I think maybe a little less gangster than YOLO got, So like, it's not all about just like purely hedonistic, like go jump out of planes and like, find supermodels or whatever. It's like living really well and fully and completely. And I have my own mental construct about what that means for me. And your own last life ever isn't going to be the same as mine. But the general concept is recognizing that we get this one chance. And, if Desmond doesn't do the most Desmond stuff in the world, then that stuff never gets done, right? Because if you don't do it, no one's ever going to be able to do it your way. And we owe it to ourselves, to our families, to our communities, to the world to just go out there and live that best version of our lives. And so when I take those two things, the No Bad Days hashtag, the Last Life Ever hashtag, and I mesh them together, it creates this framework for decision making. Like I'm going to do stuff that's positive, uplifting, that helps people. Because one of my core beliefs under my personal last life ever is that I need to help other people. Like if I have a life purpose, it's to help other people live the best version of their lives. And helping them give up bad days is a big part of that. Because, one thing I know for sure, like bad days suck. I haven't had one in 26 years. I don't ever want to have one again. It might be, I think it's 27 years now. Hoorah, like for sure by the time this comes out, because I think it was in June or something like that. So very soon I'll be at 27 years without a bad day. That's like way over half my life since I was 17 years old. And I want people that live that way. And so, when I look at it that way, then when I make my business decisions, like, do I want to start a safari lodge in Tanzania, or do I want to renovate an apartment building? I can say to myself, is this going to help people? Is it going to lift up their community? Is it going to lift up those people that I'm touching? Am I going to provide good returns for myself so that I can use those resources in a positive way? Am I going to provide good returns for my investors so that their money can be used in a positive way? And if it meets all that stuff, all my own internal hashtags, then it's really easy to decide to do it. And one part of it is too, like living without regret. Because I believe, as part of my own last life ever thing, is that if you want to live a truly extraordinary life, and by extraordinary, I mean like really extraordinary, like the word extra meaning beyond, like extraterrestrial, right? Like it came from outside of. So if you want to live this life that's beyond an ordinary life and do these amazing things, you have to. Like you absolutely have to be following in that purpose of your that internal drive and living into it. And the only way that you're going to live without regret in that scenario is if you try the things that you're pulled towards, right? There's a push and a pull in life. And like if you try to motivate yourself to do stuff, that's like trying to force yourself to do it. But like if you're inspired by something, right, it pulls you towards it. And what you want to do is you want to stay motivated, but you also need to be pulled, because it's hard to stay motivated, but it's not hard to be inspired. If you're doing things that are inspired, you just go do them. You love it. I don't need anyone to tell me to go look at real estate. I love real estate.
Yeah. It's like one of those things where you wake up and you're so aligned in your unconscious mind that you do it because it also feels easy, because it's like you're meant to do it, right? Like it's not like, because like, look, we all wake up with days where it's like, you know what, like I want to chill today.
Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with chilling once in a while, right? It's cool. I chilled all day today. I just was sitting around with
Perfect, man. Hopefully I look flat.
But when you're talking about that alignment, right? Like you're talking about alignment, like mental alignment. I think of this as integrity. Like you need to be in complete internal integrity. Your thoughts your words and your actions all need to be lined up. If they're not, then you're not going to be fully motivated. You're not going to be drawn. You're not going to be inspired to do those things. So that's where the encapsulation comes in, right? Like the way that I get my thoughts in line is, I think, in hashtags, right? And the way that I get my words in line is I tell people about thinking in hashtags, right? And then it becomes really easy to live that way. Because if I feel that way, if I believe those things, and then I talk about those things and I speak those things into existence, even when people aren't here, like I'm a big fan of like saying your mantras, saying your aspirations, stating your goals, right? Like either by writing them down or actually literally saying them out loud. If you do those things enough, I mean, that's how I gave up bad days. I literally woke up one day and went, this is dumb. I'm 17 and healthy and live in America. How bad can my life really be? And I mean, it's in a middle-class family in the suburbs. Like my life was objectively really ridiculously blessed. And there was no reason for me to be having bad days at that point. And so I just said, today's a good day out loud. Today's a good day. Today's a good day, over and over and over and over again until I believed it. Took a couple months of saying that, like, hundreds of times a day out loud to myself. If people saw me, they would have thought I was insane. But who cares? Made my life amazing.
Man, I love this. It's almost like this all comes down to like making a decision and like sticking with it, and obviously feeding yourself that energy and like, letting it compound. So look, man, I'm super interested to ask you this because the reason why I vibe with you so heavily, and I love having you on the show. Who knows, you might come on for a part 3 next season. Why not? I'm up
for it.
You're a capitalist through and through. One, I love that, right? You're believing in solving people's problems. Why not getting paid for that? We all like making money, right? We're Americans. It's no wrong with making money. But the second reason I love watching your journey, I'm so inspired, is you're also like traveling the world, right? Like you're doing all these things. Like you, for instance, like, bro, you didn't tell me last time you're going to start a safari. Like, bro, this is the last time we talked. Now you're like, I'm thinking about buying a ranch and,
yeah,
Tanzania and starting a safari company.
I haven't found one yet, so I mean, it might not happen, but because it's got to work.
You're throwing it out,
but it's in line with what I want to do, and I put it on my goal list. I have 100 things I want to do. Like I mean, literally 100. Like I made a list. I call it the 100 list. It's kind of like a bucket list. So that I don't really love bucket lists because I had one once and I almost died, and I thought that was dumb. I don't want to have a bucket list. so I have my own like version of like a life list, right? And it's on there. Start a safari lodge. So we're going to try it. If I cross it out, that'd be good. If not, whatever. Someone else can get to it eventually. But I'll say this, right? Like the travel thing, like that's a big part of who I am, right? Like the reason I can live how I want to live is because of real estate. But the reason I want to live the way I live is because I want to help people. And I really believe in order to help people, you have to have a broad perspective. And the only way you can have a broad perspective is to be exposed to different things. And I'm not talking about like reading people that disagree with you on Facebook, because that doesn't work. I mean, at least it doesn't work for me. Maybe it does for other people. I don't know, right? But like if I get into an argument on Facebook about politics, it isn't going to change anyone's mind. It's not changing their mind. It's not changing my mind. It doesn't matter what I think. Now, sometimes you might have a constructive conversation, right, on social, but usually not, right? Like more likely someone's going to get blocked. Someone's going to get yelled at. Someone's going to say something terrible and get kicked off, unless Elon Musk gets his way. I guess he bought Twitter this week or something like that, which is, we'll see how that goes. Maybe by the time this comes out, we'll know if he gets that done or not, right? But I mean, it's like, travel is amazing. I mean, this year already, I went to Tierra del Fuego, Argentina, Ushuaia, Antarctica. This is my 5th time to Puerto Rico. I've been up to Michigan. Like, I mean, I'm still getting out there, right? Like I'm going to go and I'm going to go to Tanzania this year for sure. I'm hopeful to go to Egypt, one of my favorite places in the world. Have you been to Egypt yet, by the way?
I've not,
man.
I got a 1 month or pretty much a 1 month or maybe 2 month window between Europe and Asia in July that I'm allowed to, like, I might just like buy a random ticket from Italy somewhere. So I might go there. Yeah,
man. The Middle East is great. Like you could do the North African circuit kind of, right? Like you could do like a Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt thing. But what I would do is I'd go to Egypt and Jordan and Israel and see those places. Cause like that gives you like a feel of of how the Middle East is balanced, right? Because, Israel's a complicated place. Jordan is also a complicated place, but it has completely different issues than Israel. And Egypt, super complicated, but completely different issues than Israel and Jordan. And when they all are sort of meshed together, you get a feel of that whole culture. And I mean, there are other ways to do it. Of course, I haven't traveled that much in the Middle East, but man, I love Egypt. I mean, I actually love all those places. Petra is amazing in Jordan. This is, for people that don't know, that's Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade when he comes through the valley, and there's like this the house of the Holy Grail carved into the side of the mountain. That's a real place. It's called Petra, and it's in Jordan in the middle of nowhere, and it's amazing, and no one even knows who built it. I mean, there's so much craziness in the Middle East like that too. Like the pyramids, they're stupid. They're 43 stories tall, right? Like on a hill. They're taller than any building in Cairo. That's impressive, but more impressive than that, they're taller than any building in almost every city in America, right? I mean, there's a few cities, New York, Chicago, that have taller ones. Well, like if you stick a pyramid in Cleveland, it's the tallest building in Cleveland. Like that's crazy, right? Like this is a 5,000-year-old stone building that's taller than any building we built in Ohio, the whole state. That's ridiculous. And it's also a pyramid, right? So it's like really big because like it's not like straight up; it goes way out. So like the footprint of the Great Pyramid, the one pyramid is 13 acres. 13 acres for one. I mean, it's mind-boggling the scale of this stuff and the age. Like when Cleopatra was pharaoh 2,000 years-ish ago, right? The pyramids were already older than like the time that's passed since she was pharaoh. Because they were 3,000 years old when she was pharaoh. I mean, that's insanity. Like you can't even wrap your head around this stuff, and it's unbelievable to see. I think everyone should go there at least once in their life. And now is a particularly good time to go, actually, because the currency fluctuation is such that it's super cheap. It helps the people locally out a tremendous amount to spend money there because tourism's way down. So I really, really encourage people to go now.
Man, you got to have me look up flights, man.
Well, hey, listen, I cannot offer this to every single person that's listening, but for you, if you want to reach out to me, I can put you in touch with my friends on the ground, and they can pick you up and arrange the whole thing for you.
Yeah. I'm enrolled, man. We're gonna definitely set that up. But so you talked about Egypt. So we're gonna keep down this path, man, because I think this is very interesting stuff, very contrarian. So you talked about Egypt. Like, is there any other what's your other two? Like, give us a top three of your favorite places that that like blew your mind, right? That are like once in a lifetime.
I mean, Antarctica
type of experiences.
Look, no question about it. I would have always said that Egypt was probably my favorite place in the world, the place that had the biggest impact on me until this year when I went to Antarctica. Antarctica is an unreal place. It's we took a ship into a sunken volcano and watched the glacier melt at 90 degrees from the active volcano and hit the ocean and create steam. Like it's the weirdest thing in the world. Like ice is melting and creating steam because it's on an active glacier, and there's whales and seals and penguins everywhere, and climbing glaciers, swimming in the Southern Ocean, which is very cold. I don't recommend that. Maybe for a second or two, just to experience it. But all of this stuff that like was so much bigger and grander than I thought, and it really changed my perspective on the world, on climate change. I've been really thinking about that a lot lately. I haven't said this out loud to people because that's one of those controversial issues. I don't know why, but it is. But like I've been thinking a lot about that, and like how the world is changing, and like how what we should be doing about that. And I don't know. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur. Like, if I could figure out a way to do it, I wouldn't mind. But like, I'm also not 100% sure I agree with everything everyone says on the science of climate change, right? But what I can tell you is talking to people that have nothing in it, right? No, and this surprised me, right? People that live in southern Argentina, that their job is to go to Antarctica on cruise ships and show people around on zodiacs and stuff like that. Amazing experience, by the way. But if those people, talking to them and saying what kind of changes have you seen in the 10 years you've been coming down here? It's undeniable. It's changing. What's the cause? I don't know, but it's it's shocking, at the things that are going on down there. But it really opened my mind up to like how big and vast the world is too, because on top of that, like it's also like a giant wasteland of frozen ice and penguins, right? I mean, it's like, and there's so many penguins, like it's weird. Like you think you know what it's like to be around penguins, but penguins aren't afraid of humans, so they just kind of wander around. Like you have to try to avoid them, like because you're not supposed to be within a certain distance of them because there's like environmental reasons and like and the health and safety reasons why you don't want to contaminate them. But they don't pay attention to that, right? Like, because they can go wherever they want. So, penguin comes up and you have to stop and like wait for them. And then like all of a sudden you're in a penguin traffic jam. All these penguins are going by and you're just stuck there waiting for penguins walking all around. I mean, it is just ridiculous. It's something that everyone should try at least once. Insane, honestly, like, but really cool. So, but you said two besides Egypt. So that one is there. This is a tough one. I really, really like the South Pacific, Coral Sea, Australia, all that. But I think I would go with East Africa, Tanzania, what we were talking about earlier, because there's this crater in Tanzania. It's outside of the Serengeti, but it's called Ngorongoro National Park. And it's like going into the Lost World, like the Jurassic Park Lost World. You're at the top of this volcano and you look down into the volcano, and inside the volcano, there's like buffalo and elephants and giraffes and zebras and lions and rhinos and hippos, all just sort of wandering around inside this giant. I mean, it's big, but I mean, it is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life. And it really gave me that, like, I'm at the beginning of the first Jurassic Park movie. And, I forget like what her name was, but the female, doctor's looking at this leaf and she's going, look at this has been extinct for 30 million years. How did they bring this back? And he just takes her head and turns it up, and a brontosaurus is walking by, and she's just like, what the hell's going on? That's how I felt in Ngorongoro. I'm like, I'm going to be like looking around and like, freaking like, wildebeest is going to walk by, or a giraffe or something. It was just insanity. And it was like, it's also part of the Great Wildebeest Migration Circuit. So it's like the only unbroken wildlife migration in the world. 1.8 million wildebeest, 1.2 million zebras running in a constant circle forever.
Man, that's like the trifecta of like environments, by the way. Like the desert, middle of nowhere, like architecture, like ancient, like massive structures, down to like a wasteland, cold, bitter, like untamed wildlife that, like, man, all the way up to obviously, more an interesting climate with different kind of animals, man. That's fascinating. Out of all three things, man, I'm going to definitely add Cairo to my trips. Matter of fact, I might think about going there next week, bro, because I might send it. I just bought a ticket to Croatia this weekend for a weekend trip with my girl. And I'm like, man, we might as well maybe go to Egypt. Would you recommend going there for like a week or a weekend? Like,
so it depends on your goal, right? Like, so I know people that have gone for like 2 or 3 days. They've enjoyed it. So the thing about Cairo is the pyramids are, essentially in Cairo. Memphis, Saqqara are essentially in Cairo. So you could literally fly to Cairo for like a long day, and you could see the ancient capital of Egypt, the Giza Plateau, the Egyptian Museum, and you would still be mind-blowing. But there's also like the Valley of the Kings, which is in southern Egypt, right? So the upper part portion of the Nile River, that's a 2-hour flight from Cairo. If you're trying to go by land, it's a 12-hour train ride. So if you're going to try to do like Egypt right, I would say like 7 or 8 days is way better, because then you can do things like go to the Mediterranean coast and see Alexandria, or to El Alamein in the World War II battlefields, or to the Sinai Peninsula. But honestly, like 2 or 3 days in Cairo is life-changing. And if that's all you have time-wise, then do that. But if you can find the time to do like 8 or 10 days, I'd do that because it's amazing. There's some of the best scuba diving in the world in the Sinai by Sharm el-Sheikh in the Red Sea. And of course, you're right there by Jordan and Egypt or Israel. So you can actually do the circuit in probably like 15 days, do it all. Because Israel's very small and Jordan's relatively small. So those are ones that you can see quite a bit of them in a shorter period of time.
Cool, man. I'm gonna look at tickets tonight and I might send it. And I'm gonna text you like, yo, sent it. So
I'm gonna be jealous though. If you go to Cairo next week, I might have to go to Cairo next week. I mean, it'll be kind of inconvenient because I got all this other stuff going on next week, but I'm hoping, Yeah, actually, I'm super busy. I'm going to a conference in Orlando. I got to go back. So my wife's on the Appalachian Trail right now. So the Appalachian Trail, right? So it's 6 months. She's walking from Georgia to Maine. She's about 350 miles in right now. She's got 1,700 miles to go, right? And I haven't seen her in a month or whatever. So I'm going back to Michigan or to Tennessee. I'm going to drive up and meet her. We're going to spend a couple of days just hanging out and reconnecting. And then I'm going to leave from there, go back to Tennessee. I'm going to a conference in Orlando. Then I'm back to Puerto Rico for 5 days. Then I'm back to Tennessee for 2 days. Then I'm going to Belize for 10 days. And then hopefully when I get back from Belize, I'm going to Tanzania. My goal is to tag a trip to Cairo on the back end of that trip. But another place I'd really like to go when I go to Tanzania is Ethiopia. I don't know if you've ever been to Ethiopia, but that's an amazing country too. I spent a few days there in 2020, and I really want to spend more time exploring Ethiopia. So,
word, yeah, I know they're having some issues, some unrest, but
the north part of Ethiopia, you got to be a little careful. I think you're okay in the capital and around the capital. But I mean, honestly, some of the stuff I want to see is in the north. So I have to look into whether that's the right time to go or not. There's some stone churches that are carved into the rock there that are really amazing. And there's also some wildlife preserves in the north that are that have some unique animals that really only exist up there. They have a black-maned lion. That's the only place in the world where there's black-maned lions. And the thing about black-maned lions is, in a way, this is one that's iconically popular, because if you think about the old school cartoons, the Disney stuff, you get the manes have black in them a lot of times. But when you actually see a lion at a zoo, they never have that black in them. So I'd like to see it. I think it'd be cool.
Man, that's so sick, dude. We can always talk about travel, man, but because we're traveling men. Yeah. So this is sick, man. So we talked a little bit about no bad days. We talked a little bit about some amazing experiences, right? Because this is all ripple effects, guys, right? Hey, when he was 17 years old, he made a decision. When he was on his deathbed, he made a decision. When he's, going to see all these places, he's making these decisions. And this is just evidence of how we all can live whatever life that we want to live on our own terms if we're willing to first accept it, stay focused on it, and allow the universe, God, or life, essentially, whatever you believe in order to feed that energy to get to that result, right? And I love real estate, man. So real estate has helped you create this life of freedom, which I think is amazing, man. I know we had a whole entire episode on that part 1, by the way, go to listen to part 1, but talk to me a little bit about how to because I'm traveling, right? I'm in the middle of, I sold my first property. Now I'm in the middle of, hey, do we roll it in? Do I take some money off the table and go do something else with it? Let's say people are traveling or working on multiple businesses, if they don't have the time to, let's say, dedicate to real estate full time or focus on building a portfolio, what are some tips and tools that you can share with us based upon because you're traveling all over, man. You just mentioned your itinerary of the next 2 months. So how are you managing building your real estate and maintaining your current real estate portfolio and still doing all these things at the same time?
I have partners on most of my stuff, which really helps, right? So I got people on the ground I trust, but you got to build a team if you want to have a business in real estate. But the thing is, you don't have to do it yourself, right? There are different ways to tap into teams that exist. There's things like investing in REITs and stuff, which I don't really, I don't endorse that as the best strategy for real estate, but that's an option, right? Investing in a fund of funds that have a bunch of real estate. You get exposure to the real estate that way. You can also do things like turnkey rentals. Like there are companies that will just like sell you a house that they've renovated, that they're going to maintain the management on it, and you're just going to get a predictable, nice return as long as you get a good deal on the front end. You got to underwrite those companies. You want to make sure you vet them, get the right company or whatever. So you can do that. But the other ways you can tap into people's networks is you can just find a really good property manager in whatever market that you want to invest in and tap into their market, right? I'm a big fan of property managers. In fact, I'm such a big fan of property managers that two of my primary partners, the ones that I do the most stuff with, actually own property management companies. So I'm like, I want to be tied into their network. These guys, they know when people are going to sell before the realtors know, right? Before the brokers know. So they bring you deals that wouldn't otherwise exist. And they get real estate, right? Like they understand how to do it. And if you find a property manager that also invests in real estate and you can align your interests with them, like you're going to be in a really good spot, right? And they've created systems for this stuff, and you get reports, and they have handymen, and they have contractors and maintenance people, and all this stuff already like in there, ready to go. Another thing you can do to get exposure to real estate is you can invest in someone else's deal. We do that a little bit. I invest in other people's deals sometimes passively. In fact, I invested in a couple of hotels this year because I wanted to get exposure to a different asset class. I don't personally run any hotels, so I thought it'd be cool to like invest in some hotels. But like you could invest in deals that I put together. I'm not really pitching anyone on a deal because I don't really have anything right now anyway. But whenever, a couple, 2-3 times a year, we put a deal together, we raise some money for. But there are hundreds of people doing that. And you just same as like picking a property manager, same as picking a turnkey provider. You got to pick a deal sponsor that knows what they're doing, get to know them, make sure you trust them, make sure you like them, make sure that you like the deal that they're presenting to you, that it's in line with your goals. Because, some deals are cash flow plays, some are equity plays, or all sorts of different myriads of things in between there. Figure out what you're looking for and then find the deals that fit. It might be like I invested in somebody's fund where they buy tax foreclosures and then they renovate them and sell them, right? It's not something I want to do, but I like the idea of creating a little, these discrete packets of cash when they sell a house. So I thought that would be a fun fund. I didn't put very much money in, but I put a little money into a fund like that. I talked to the people. I liked them. I got to believe that they really were good at what they were doing. I talked to some of their previous investors. That's what you got to do. I mean, it takes some effort, but once you set that stuff up, then there's not that much effort involved. And then you can go travel the world and do this stuff. Like if you're running a business, like when you start your business, you're going to put a lot more work into it. If you run your business correctly, you're going to build a system around that. And then you're not going to have to be involved 24/7, 7 days a week. Like you might, if you want to, if your passion's there, if you're inspired by what you're doing, you might spend more time in it than you think. That's what happens to me, right? I love real estate so much that I'm writing offers on properties in Puerto Rico. I didn't intend to buy stuff in Puerto Rico, but I'm like, there's a real estate meetup in Puerto Rico. I should go to it. Oh, that was cool. Like this guy's doing interesting stuff. I should go look at his deals. And then pretty soon I'm like, going to buy real estate here. It's just going to happen because that's what I do, because I'm drawn to that, like what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it's like the game. It's like playing a game, right? At that point, because it's like playing chess, right? Like I love chess because it's like it's like the thrill of the game, right?
Yeah.
There's only a certain amount of moves, right? And
it's also like playing chess with no one against you, though. That's the best way, because like no one's trying to kill you if you're, when you're playing chess, like one side's trying to kill the other side's king, right? Like capture them. But like in the world of real estate, most people actually want you to be successful. And even the people that don't want you to be successful, it's not anything against you. It's that they want to be successful. Like they have a scarcity mindset. And they're trying to pull the money to themselves or whatever. But like you don't have anyone out there like trying to suppress you. You can go out and like make partnerships and learn from other people and repeat what other people are doing, and everyone's better off. It's an amazing. There's a lot of strategy to it, but there's also a lot of interaction and like learning and really good commodity. I mean, some of my favorite people in the world are people I met at real estate events. And it's amazing. That's why I go to like events. That's why I do a podcast myself. That's why I go on other people's shows. Like I'd never meet you in a million years if I didn't come on your show. Now, like if I see you around, we're going to hang out.
Yeah, man. Networking. It's like networking strategy, obviously dipping your toe a little bit. That's good stuff, man. So man, a lot of that kind of landed around the whole, like, you do things that's in alignment with you. And a lot of business owners, we bring this up on a pod. We have a lot of like great guests come on in different stages of the business. You know, people are multimillionaires, built sold companies. And something that's very a clear pattern in all of this is time, right? Like the subject of time, of how, like, and also how we view time, which you kind of shed light on that, right? Like if you view you spending your time, like you just said, I love real estate. So I love going to events. Like, like you're just drawn, you're just in this natural progression because you're just doing what you love to do while you're doing what you love to do. But if you look at your time, like, man, like you're grinding away, like you're just trying to get to an end to an end to a mean. It's going to be hard to stick to that business or to that.
It's going to be it's probably going to be impossible. Yeah. I mean, like, there's no way Elon Musk's Elon Musk if he didn't love what he was doing. Like, the guy's a freak of nature, no doubt, but like he loves what he's doing. You can tell he loves it. Like, he's the guy sleeping on the floor of the factory. You know, like he's like, I only want to sleep 3 hours because I got to get up and do this. Like that's, I mean, that level of drive can only come from pure passion. And that's what we're talking about, really. It's like, and it goes back to, like, I mean, what we were saying at the beginning of the show, right? Encapsulate these ideas, create an internal consistency, and then lean into that. And then it's okay. Like we only have so much time. Like, it's clearly the most valuable commodity. Like, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, there's no amount of money that's going to motivate you to keep doing it. Eventually, you might keep doing it, but the only reason the money's motivating you is you're like, if I get enough money, I'll be able to use my time better, right? Like, you're still just like, I want the money so that I don't have to do this anymore. You're not, and that's that kind of mindset is never going to make you really, really successful. Like, you have to lean in. Like, I used to think it was weird when I was younger when people would say, like, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. But I mean, I think there's something true about that, right? Like, it doesn't feel that way, but there's more to it than just that saying. There's also that, like, people would say, like, if you do what you love, the money will come to you kind of thing. But that's also kind of true. I mean, obviously there's limitations to broad generalities like that. Like, if you love, like, walking on the beach and that's the only thing you're willing to do, then maybe money won't come to you. I mean, you might find a pirate treasure, but you're probably not going to, right? But, like, if you can figure out that synergy between helping other people, because that's, the universe rewards value. Like, the world rewards value. The economy rewards value. Like, everything rewards value. And this is true, everything from, like, if you, if you're like a small microscopic marine animal to, like, us, arguably the top of the food chain, right? Like the more value we provide, the more we get back in return. And if you can figure out a way to, like, create that internal integrity, that consistency, and then lean into it. And part of your value is providing value, which is what I was saying earlier. I want to help people all the time. But that's not BS. Like, I want to help people. And, it turns out the more people I help, the more money I end up with. It's stupid, but that's the way it works.
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. You guys hear that? That's another piece of evidence. I'm just pointing out evidence because we're deep in the episodes. I think this is going to be like episode 43 when this comes out. Like, there's two that before we wrap up, there's obviously three things I want to make sure we summarize on. One, good days, bad days are on our head, so we won't know bad days, right? Like, we have the right to control that. Two, man, dude, this is huge. Literally, you get paid on the value that you provide in the marketplace. That's why I love capitalism. Like, people don't make money by scheming, scamming, and cash grabs. Like, you can't build sustainable wealth. You can't build a sustainable business. You can't build a sustainable reputation if you're not providing value in the marketplace. So solve other people's problems. Be obsessed with solving other people's problems. Genuinely want to solve other people's problems. And then obviously you get rewarded. And one of my favorite things to do this, here's a little tip. Here's some real game, guys. Here's some real game. Easy way to do it. You don't need to be the person with all the answers. You need to be the person who's willing to find the right people with the answers. Put that work in and just connect people. Like, that's the easiest hack to build a great network and be known as a person of value. It's
the
literally
number one strategy.
people.
Help people meet
people. It's crazy.
Yes. Introduce people to people. I mean, I walk around networking events and I'll be like, hey, man, do you know this person? Hey, I mean, I don't even have to know the person. I'll be like, hey, have you met? And they're like, I don't even know either of the people, but I'm still going to introduce them because you just don't know. Yeah. And that's going to come back and help you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy,
if I see someone in the corner, like not talking to anyone, I'm going to go introduce myself to that person. And then I'm going to introduce them to someone else because it's going to change their experience. And that person's going to remember me because of that.
Yep. That's money. That's money, guys. So I know you're not finished with the book yet. I know that it's not going to be, the book isn't going to be out yet with this episode. So we're not going to plug that in. But, people want to hear
it's done.
About
it's with my publisher now, but it'll be out in the fall. So not too long. Okay. We'll get there.
So it'll be, this will be a couple of months early between then. But so if people want to listen to your pod, man, or get a hold of you or listen to more of your content, how can we find you?
I mean, just Google me. I mean, honestly, like I'm everywhere under Jeffery Holst. But I mean, listen, I have 2 podcasts, right? Last Life Ever, about living the best version of your life. We're on a pause on new episodes on that until I think September 1st, kind of between seasons there. But that's a great show. We have a Facebook group with the same name, Last Life Ever private group on Facebook. That's a great place to like just get the positivity and mindset. If you want to just hear about real estate, though, we have this really fun show. Best to watch on YouTube. It's on all the podcasting apps too, but it's called Old Fashioned Real Estate. We drink bourbon old fashions and talk about real estate. It's literally just like get a little tipsy and like talk about real estate. We've interviewed some amazing people on that, but like mostly it's just the 2 of us, my partner who's a property manager and a real estate investor, and I just talking about real estate. Like we'll pick one topic and it'll be about the length of a drink. So like, we'll talk about market conditions for 12 minutes. When we're done with our drink, the episode's over pretty much.
Man, love it. So go check it out. I'll be sure to have those in the show notes. So definitely go check that out, guys. Yo, Jeff, man, I loved you, man. This is great. This is another great episode, and I appreciate
Part 3 is on the way. We're going to do it. I'm making Part 3 is on the way. You just announce it now, and then you can't. I mean, I guess you can edit it out or whatever, but I'm going to assume you're not going to. And I'll be completely honest with you, and I'm not just saying this because, you're in front of me right now, but like, I get invited on a lot of podcasts. I've done hundreds of podcasts in the last couple of years. I never go back. There's a couple I have, but very few. And now we're on the second one. I don't even know why I agreed to this one, but I just like you guys so much that I want to do it again. And, even like, Heather was on earlier before, and like you said, she wasn't feeling well. Like, even she seems amazing. Like, I want to come back so I can like talk to her. Like we just like you guys are amazing. Just like we gotta do it. We keep doing it, man. We'll be on like part 7 eventually. It's gonna be fine.
Absolutely, yo, we're homies for life, man. I'm gonna get your Cairo plug too
for sure.
This week. Yeah, man, we're homies for life. We'll meet up here in one of these random cities around the world, and we'll share some bourbon, and maybe we might go live somewhere, bro. So
yeah, I'm up for that.
Cool. Well, yo, guys, hey, you made it to the end of the episode. I appreciate you for giving me your most precious resource on the planet, which is your time and your attention. We love you. We thank you for being here. And don't forget to leave that rating, that review, send some comments. Go check out Jeff's podcast. Also, if you're going to come play in the sandbox with us, if you're an entrepreneur or investor, go to campfirecapitalism.com/guest and let's vibe out. Thanks, guys. Cheers.